One, and we are live, everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us on the call today. So excited to have everybody here. This is going to be a really exciting call and packed full of lots of great stuff. So please feel free to ask questions in the chat below. And Justin, will you keep an eye on that for us here? Cool. So Justin's going to keep an eye on our chat. So if you have questions, comments, please feel free to share them there. And I want to get started by introducing you to Dylan and Derek from Elwell in Waterton, Tennessee, and surrounding areas in the rural area there. And they recently launched their Althea network. They set up their gateway, and that's just where you bring fiber into a location that you're going to use to distribute the rest of your network there. And really excited to have them here today. They've been doing some really great work and outreach, and hopefully just get a chance to hear from you about what your vision for Althea is, why you chose Althea instead of other options, and how things have been going so far, and maybe a little bit about your background and what brought you here too.
Hey everybody. Hi Dylan. Thank you, Deborah. Good to see everybody. Thank you, Justin. I'm Derek Elwell, and Dylan and I started this company or endeavor really initially to help the students. I'm a high school teacher, and when this pandemic came, we were just coming off of having a tornado rip through our community and wipe out two schools. And everybody's kind of from here. The community that I worked in is Mount Juliet, Tennessee, and I've been there for 13 years. And I just moved to Watertown. I live out in a rural area in between, and we've had terrible internet. I've tried just about everything except for HughesNet. And I started with I got a thing now called Got W3. And anyway, I was looking into Althea just in almost a selfish way to see if I could solve my own problems. And then when the tornado hit and then the pandemic, I actually got hired at a new high school, and the principal told me anecdotally that we had 60% of our students without internet, or at least something that they could use consistently. And everything had gone online, and it all kind of came together in my head. I was like, this is a perfect fit for rural places where you just obviously can't get the internet in it with fiber or anything else. Nobody wants to run it. It's too expensive. So this was a perfect fit. And I talked with Dylan about it, and Dylan has extensive experience in the tech side of this. I've been an entrepreneur, and I got out of the entrepreneur stuff because I kept getting wiped out by a lot of people that didn't even know who I was. And so I decided to go teach school. It was all safe. And then all of a sudden this happened. I was like, time to be an entrepreneur again, buddy. So I called Deborah. I was on the front porch in my robe in a pandemic. So I can't believe this is happening. Let's get this going. And so Dylan and I went down and started beating the bushes around Watertown, new teacher. And we literally just haven't stopped. We've been working, pretty much around the clock because I can't teach school, and Dylan was going to be doing something else. But this is a perfect fit. There was no other choice in my book. This was win-win. And, we have been in telemetry with, Deborah and Justin and everybody along the way, and Discord. And it's been fantastic. And we've, of course, there's potholes on the way. That's just the way it goes. But you be tenacious and you see the vision, and there's been a lot of patience from a lot of people. And so we're definitely full of gratitude for that. And I'm done. Dylan, go ahead, my friend.
So I'm Dylan Trait. I ended up meeting Derek after I left the Air Force in November, and he approached me with this idea to start an internet company. And I was like, well, I can help with that because I've got some background in that, and I'd be happy to work on this project. So I guess as far as Elwell goes in Watertown, I'm the tech guy here that's trying to make these radios talk to each other, make this situation work. I think the idea is really neat because ISPs have been kind of screwing over the little guy for a long time, and taking control of our networks back from them is something that feels kind of good, because I personally just really dislike them. I've had some negative experiences with Comcast. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's had that problem, be it customer support or service or just general grievances with the company. I mean, they're humongous, so it's kind of hard not to have your issues, but you get drowned out in a sea of noise. And Althea's got a rather novel way of looking at the internet. Paying for bandwidth seems on paper like a good idea. Pay for what you use rather than for access to a speed, rather than the potential promise of, oh, I might get a gig, but in reality you never really do. And that's kind of a terrible business model. It doesn't sit right with me. So I'd like to be a part of the team that's going to change how that works, and that's why I'm here.
Very exciting. Yeah, no, I'd be curious to know kind of what your plans are for the rollout, or what your kind of scope of your vision is, and what the next what does the next 6 months look like for you, Derek and Dylan?
I'll go ahead and maybe talk about where we want to be. I suppose I've been standing on the accelerator pedal of this Elwell endeavor, and that's just my nature. So the goal initially was to work with the school systems. I've been a school teacher now for 15 years, and I thought that I could utilize my experience in working in the school system. I know so many of the principals and administrators and, the director of schools, and, I've got plugs in the community here. I love it here. I really do. But in 6 months, I was trying to think, a month. I had no clue how this would play out time wise. I wanted to have at least an accessible Wi-Fi pop in the town square. And then, I was going to beam it over to, we have a drive-in, 2 screens, and, they've got ample space for cars. And we just thought to ourselves, well, we can have drive-up service for kids at the school, and trying to make it happen. But the school board, being a school board, had a really hard time having the vision and seeing. And I think they really wanted to help, but they just didn't know what to do. Nobody does, because this is a novel experience. So we realized pretty quickly that we couldn't rely on the school board as our main mode of generating revenue. So we kind of switched pitch a little bit, and through conversations with Deborah, to really concentrate on a nice small node. And so we're literally canvassing. I worked for the census. I've been kind of a salesman my whole life, just in different professions. But we're trying to get our small downtown set up, and then try and daisy chain those together over the coming months. As fast as we can do it, we want to do it, but in a way that's going to provide a rugged, sustainable, reliable network for the people that are our neighbors. And so the school board couldn't really do anything. And so we've started looking at grants. We've contacted the universities contacted us. We've made some international contacts, and it seems kind of serendipitous in many ways. We're very much just kind of walking the path and making the next right decision, because we have an idea where we're going, but there's going to be potholes, and it's the way it goes. So we're tough. We're ready to go. So yeah, Dylan, what are your thoughts?
I'd like to have, maybe 100 people by then. I'd like to have, 5 or 6 different relays, several radios, maybe a couple towers. And I'd like something to actually play with, a large enough network that I actually can manage it and, have some fun with my radios. That's my goal.
Yeah,
I just want a nice, reliable network that, doesn't have a bunch of downtimes. That's what I'm shooting for.
Absolutely. One of the interesting things that I found too, you said 5 or 6 relays. We have a lot of trees here in the Northwest. I'm not sure if perhaps in a flatter area that may not be the case, but we're at almost 30% of our subscribers are a relay of some sort, whether that's just to their neighbor, or even in a residential or like an MDU building. We'll have some cables and stuff, so somebody's relaying to someone else, and it's up at like right around a third. Um, which is really incredible. And never had to pay for tower lease or anything like that in any of our networks. So been able to really build out faster and more affordably. All right, so this also leads to the one other question that I have is, what is like a big surprise? Like what was the one thing that you weren't expecting, or is there anything that kind of coming into this you said, whoa, okay, well, didn't know that was coming. What do you think?
Dylan, you go first on that one.
I thought that the people that would, I thought the community government would be a lot more excited about this, and seeing some of the hesitation has been kind of confusing to me, because the internet seems like it's like a human right. Like, you should have access to the internet. It's kind of crucial to live in the modern world. So seeing people that don't take it seriously has been kind of baffling to me. That's been my biggest surprise as far as this project goes.
What do you think, Derek?
I'll definitely second what Dylan said. Yeah, and we did get some good advice early on from a friend of mine that's a software guy, and he's made a whole bunch of money doing this. And he said, look, when you've got a big idea like this, it can tend to suck the oxygen out of a room. And I got incredibly passionate about it. I thought I was some evangelist out there. You're not going to believe this, what we can do, and there,
Right.
now, I mean, my kids have all gone to school here and that kind of thing, but I think they still see me as some kind of city slicker, and I'm as far from that as you can get. But it's multi-generational families living in these towns, and well, and
Mhm.
you know what? They're kind of vetting us, I think, and it's been a really interesting process because I am getting to know, you know, my home in such a way that it's incredibly gratifying to me. I mean, I drive all the back roads. Every time I look around, I see towers and I start thinking, and it's just really a great exercise for me. And I have been really impressed too with, kind of the flip side of the coin of what Dylan was talking about. Yeah, we've run into some small town kind of politics, and everybody is very, very well intentioned. I have no question. Everybody loves where we live, but people are just cautious about something new. And it just takes time to realize, for them to realize that you're really just there to help. And I had to kind of continue to reiterate, it's like, I'm not really getting that much out of this right now. I mean, I'm self-funding, and sure, we're looking at grants, but I think, as you said, Deborah, when people start to see the critical mass,
Mhm.
I think that's when it's going to really pay off. And that's where I got pleasantly surprised, because there are people that have contacted us and they've said, I'm really amazed at what you're doing. How can I help? And, one member of the school board will be like, wow, what are you guys doing? I really want to know. And it's been the surprise phone calls from people that are really allies in the community that you just never thought were there. And they just kind of show up when you need them the most. So that's been the biggest surprise for me, I suppose.
Yeah, you really do see kind of a diverse way that people react to new ideas and to bringing these kind of projects together. We saw in Enfield where the city itself brought in the bucket trucks. They're locating at the library. Very, very involved city government there. We've worked with municipal ISPs who are willing to give us metered backhaul bandwidth. And then we have it in my city. My city government is very much just ambivalent, right? So I think a lot of times, like you said, we have these older communities, and their comfort zone is status quo. Which is why we don't have internet right there. So, you really do see quite a bit of variety, but the partnerships that do get formed with the businesses and the community, and to see that kind of fruition and to grow is really exciting for sure. So, yeah. definitely second that. And there's always these, funny, long-standing interpersonal things that come up, right? Some neighbor doesn't like some other neighbor, and you didn't, you didn't know that they had pigs over there, and now and now they're mad because they put pigs near the fence, and there's no way they're going to locate the antenna on that side of the hill. So there is that real, and that's why ultimately we always believe that the internet is best served locally. That the people in the community itself are the ones that are best to provide faster, more affordable internet and really meet the needs of the community. So I'm going to pause here and see if Justin has any questions, comments, or anything. Pretty quiet.
Not yet. There is one person looking to start a network, and I've directed them to you, and I'm sure you'll get to them later. But no, like immediate questions.
All right. Well, if y'all think of anything and you want to chat with, Derek or Dylan, please feel free to post questions in the chat there or reach out afterwards too. We can always make introductions and put you in touch. And Derek and Dylan, do you want to say anything else before we kind of dive into some of the meat of the technical stuff?
I would just say that one of the best investments I made was in yellow vests. I bought surveyor's vests and I wear them, and, rain gear, and we have a lot of mosquitoes and bugs out here. So, we're kind of building it as it goes, but it started with the yellow vest, because if you carry a clipboard and you have on a yellow vest, you're in charge somehow. I don't know how that works, but people will give you a little bit of deference. So we had t-shirts made with our logos on them, and then we kind of did it like this. I don't know if you can see it.
Nice.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Very nice.
So, and stickers and, putting stickers on the backs of road signs, and just be a little guerrilla marketing, kind of creating some swag and a little bit of a brand that's something new and mysterious and enigmatic. And I think people are curious. They want to find out, when you're busy running around in the middle of a pandemic on a mission, and we're PPE'd and we do the right things. And we got a big blue ribbon from the state of Tennessee for, kind of getting with the program and supporting social distancing and being responsible. So, I think we really accept the role as a community servant, and, kind of shooting down the middle of the road and being nice and safe and letting people know that we're all right. We're here to help.
Yeah, the biggest thing that attracts new subscribers is installing subscribers. Like, hey, what you out there doing with that antenna? But yeah, absolutely. I think kind of having that brand awareness. One of the things they say about marketing is it takes 7 touches or 7 times. So you almost have to get to that point where you're just part of the context. So when people think, oh yeah, internet, like for example, on our Facebook page, anytime someone in the community says, hey, I'm new to the area, I'm looking for internet, 8 people pop up in the community and say, oh, call Clatskanie Co-op, right? Because we're part of the conversation in the context of what people think about for internet in our area. So I think that really does help establish that foundation. They're like, oh, well, yeah, that's internet, I'll call them, Absolutely. All right, Justin, I'm going to turn it over for you to get into the meat of some technical stuff that's coming up. We have some exciting news for the kind of blockchain stuff. So kind of get into the meat of the wizard behind the scenes here. What's underneath the hood?
Okay. Hey, so let's see. What is my agenda for today? We've got a lot of stuff going on. So we have Peggy from, well, give me a second. Allow me to review my to-do list. We've got Peggy, we've got Beta 15 for the routers, and then we've got the financial tools for the operator tools. So, yeah. So what about a nano beam, Deborah?
I'm just, while you go through your list, I'm just showing people ideas.
Okay, you're just showing off hardware. Anyways, so yeah, first and foremost, we are happy to have received a grant from I'm happy to have received an investment / grant for development of Peggy from Interchain, um, and we will be developing the Peggy Ethereum Cosmos bridge for our own use and for wider use by the community. Um, and that's already in progress. I've put out one blog post about it that you can go and look at on the blog, and I'm going to be working on another blog post about it very soon. You can find the link to the source code we've done so far in that blog post. And now that all the perfunctory bits are out of the way, I can start talking about the exciting stuff. So we've been working on a gas efficient way to synchronize Ethereum validator sets. Synchronize Cosmos validator sets to Ethereum, specifically so that it's feasible to run a decentralized bridge and provide the services we need for our customers, which is the ability to onboard funds from Ethereum, transact in them cheaply, and to also do that without a centralized bridge or a bridge with a very small list of signers. Um, for example, the bridge that we're currently using has about 10 signers, and they do not rotate frequently, so still somewhat decentralized. We are currently testing with 125 validators for the Peggy bridge, so significantly more people, and these people will be changed out frequently on a day-to-day basis. They can bond, unbond like any Cosmos validator. So this significantly increases the decentralization of our bridge software and really facilitates making the Althea blockchain practical. And I look forward to a new blog post soon that covers how to actually run this software, how to actually run the bridge and test everything. Because we've got some really cool stuff because we have some really cool scripts that generate a Cosmos testnet on the fly. So if you have enough horsepower, you can literally launch 100 validator testnet on your machine with one button push. So it's very nice, and I can't wait to show it off more. For next,
Justin,
Mhm.
could you, Derek had a question about how you set up a validator, but maybe also could you zoom out a bit and tell us why all of this about Peggy gas efficient bridges
Yeah.
matters, how that works with Althea?
Okay. Yeah. Context. So, for context, Althea uses blockchain payments in order to allow the routers to send each other's money in very small increments. So whereas, for example, a credit card or most payment processors would want to charge you 25 to 50 cents just to make a transaction of any size, Althea sends money between the routers in increments of 12 cents and pays far less than that in fees. And the reason why we do this is what lets routers pay each other for bandwidth without ever trusting each other all that much. So, you have to worry, what if my neighbor doesn't pay me for bandwidth? So as long as the increment in which they pay is small enough that you don't care if you lose it, for example, most people don't worry about a dime and 2 pennies, then everything's good. And you can have a system where everybody pays each other for bandwidth, and there are no significant problems where, for example, your neighbor may owe you $20 in bandwidth and not pay. Now, this could be a hour-long lecture on its own about ways we have attempted to try and do this efficiently. But how we are doing it now is that we run an efficient sidechain called XDAI, which is significantly cheaper. And this sidechain, which is sort of a smaller blockchain that works to the side of a bigger one, is faster and has far lower fees, and we get there with a bridge from Ethereum. So there's a bridge between I don't know what the inverse statement of a sidechain is. Nobody's really done that. So the big blockchain, Ethereum, you go to the smaller blockchain, XDAI. Because on Ethereum, transactions cost tens of cents. Right now, also on Ethereum, transaction costs are really variable. For example, this morning they were 40 cents. At noon, they were $1. Now they're 40 cents again. and none of that's very acceptable for our particular use case. So we really need a bridge. Now, XDAI has been serviceable as a solution for us, but we are looking forward to a future in which the Althea community can be that sidechain and can run validators to help facilitate all of that working. So that's sort of what we're doing with the Althea blockchain and what we are and and what we are working on setting up. Peggy is a more efficient bridge from Ethereum that we are designing to work with our more decentralized Althea validator model. And the reason it's so important for it to be efficient, I've just described, is that doing things on Ethereum can be very expensive. And in fact, right now it's a roller coaster ride of expense. So we have to be very careful about optimizing these sorts of optimizing these sorts of operations to try and save users as much money as possible. So yeah, I think that's a bit of context as to why Peggy's important and sort of what we're doing. As for an update on the Althea blockchain in general, we are working on releasing. Our goal is to at least be doing, live testnets by the end of the year, and hopefully launching our chain somewhere around there. Obviously, like all software timelines, it's a software timeline, and take it accordingly. But we really believe that it's achievable, and it's a priority for us to sort of to make sure that things run better and to sort of place, because our goal is to place the Althea community as validators in charge of this base transaction layer, because if you have network operators and community members running the sidechain, or the Althea blockchain as we're calling it, they're probably not going to do something. I'd like to be charitable here. They're probably not going to take it down. They're probably going to make decisions with the community's needs in mind, and that will result in better outcomes for everybody and in a better outcome for us. Deborah, do you think I have sort of summarized this well enough?
Yeah, I do want to also stress that the experience of an in subscriber is that this is all underneath the hood, right? So people are just going to use their debit card to basically buy, the currency needed to load their router up, which is stable to the dollar. So it's going to feel like you're buying $20 of quote data credits or something like that, right? And then as you use your internet, it goes down, very much like a prepaid phone or something like that. And it also kind of feels like, a system where you get solar credits, right? If you have solar on your roof, you often get credit off your bill, right? So if you're a relay, you just kind of get those credits. And so that's what it feels like to an end user. So none of this, blockchain things and Peggy bridges and none of that has to be explained to an end subscriber. They simply buy currency they can use to get internet. And it's pretty simple. It's a bit like, we can use Chrome, you can use your browser without knowing how TCP/IP works, and we don't want to necessarily convey how IP works to your grandparents who just want to use the internet. But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of to segue with that, and I think Derek had a question that popped up there on the screen. Derek, did you want to ask that real quick?
Sure, and I know beforehand we were talking as a group, and Justin was mentioning about how cryptocurrencies are. Well, he got into them, and they're really really interesting. And so, I've been exploring them since, well, I guess they came out, but nobody had a lot of faith in it. Now, we've got so many that are nuanced in their conception and application, and from an economic standpoint, I didn't know if it was even possible to perhaps create, you've got Peggy Bridge, and that might be one part. And then the other part might be, could you triangulate currencies in order to maintain maybe growth, which is fine. But if you had one currency and then its inverse, and then triangulate it to whatever the dollar is, it might smooth out. But see, I didn't know if that was even possible to do.
Well, it sounds vaguely like. So now what you're talking about sounds vaguely like DAI. So we actually run DAI, which is a decentralized stablecoin that is pegged to the dollar. Um, and that's a
Gotcha.
sentence, but of
Okay.
course, what it's summarizing is much more complicated. How do you maintain a peg to the dollar in a decentralized way? And the answer could once again be a several-hour lecture. Um, but DAI is essentially collateralized with multiple currencies, and they have switched from single collateral to multi-collateral in the time that we've been using them. Um, and so people lock up certain amounts of ETH. They lock up certain amounts of other tokens on Ethereum. Right now they're on Ethereum, and what happens is that if the value of DAI begins to go down, those are liquidated to maintain the value of DAI. And this is a gross oversimplification. It's quite an interesting system, but essentially that's exactly what we do. Or that's exactly the sort of system that we use to maintain the dollar peg that our routers rely on. Because Deborah is very right. All of this blockchain talk is roughly equivalent to giving you an exhaustive summary of how I manipulate TCP/IP to get the routers to route things properly. It's interesting, and many people find it educational, but it is definitely not necessary for the operation of the definitely not necessary for the operation of the routers. And this is part of our vision for Althea in general. It's that it is using blockchain to provide value without people knowing what it is, because it's without people knowing all of the details and all of that. Because technology is best when it works for you and it gets out of your way and it does what it needs to do, not when it's in your face telling you about how great it is. Um, and that is really what we're trying to achieve with Althea's design and with the way Althea functions. Um, if everything goes well, you will think about Althea once a month when you add money to it, and otherwise, you don't have to consider it because it just works.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
almost.
That was great.
And the same for the folks that operate it. As much as possible, we have been working on our network operations center, our supply chain, our tools, all of these things that go into supporting y'all's deployments and helping y'all be successful and helping you just get to the point where you have someone in the field goes in, plugs in a router, and then y'all make money. So, and I'd love to share. I think this is a good segue, Justin, unless you have something else to talk about. No? Okay, yay. Okay, so I'm really excited to share with y'all our new operator tools dashboard, right? So this is, Justin's been working really hard on this. I'm going to share my screen. Or I'm going to attempt to here. 1 second. Okay. All right. You seeing this? Yes?
Yep,
No?
it's
There we
working
go.
just fine.
All right, here. So this is a little bit of a test network I put up for for today to show you all how this looks. So this is what you would see as an Althea network operator. We have an easy kind of funnel for the subscribers to go online to sign up. It goes right to a scheduling system, and then your installation team goes out, installs the new subscriber. There's a easy form when they install that to go ahead and put all of this information into this form. And then your installation crew can call our dispatch to talk them through all of the aiming and everything like that. So basically, as an operator, you can essentially just come in to your operator dashboard and see a new subscriber pop up on your screen and start paying you. And we've worked really hard on smoothing out all the process of that and the friction of that. So I just kind of wanted to go quickly through what we're seeing here and kind of some of the bells and whistles around this. These are two different routers that you're seeing. You can see they've got the new. It'll show you the version right here. It'll show you the balance that's in the router currently, the bandwidth price that this router is paying. It'll show you the latency, and just a quick overview. You can see whether or not that connection is okay. And you can even sort by user experiencing issues. So you can, as you start your day, or as you glance over, you can have any folks that are having latency or connection issues pop up. And you see that this is where I actually just turned this on. It was off. And then I rebooted it right here in the yellow to update it to the latest firmware version, which you can do remotely. We have a really great app too for operators in the field and installation crews in the field called Althea Router Rescue. It's the best thing ever. It allows you to remotely reflash without connection to the internet, to update and to repair routers in the field seamlessly. That's just what I did here. We just updated it remotely, and you can see there where you can just quickly look at like that heartbeat of how your network's performing. You also have some tools here, like information about your router. This is going to give you here your mesh IP, your payment address, your WireGuard key. What I really love here too is you can also take a look at what's been happening on Block Scout, which is the XDI Block Explorer. You have some management features, and we're going to expand on these, but these are amazing, right? So this has eliminated a lot of our truck rolls. You can easily reboot the router, reset the Wi-Fi password, or the dashboard password. So folks that inevitably forget that, you can easily manage that and be that customer service for them. And then us as your tier 1 support too. We have our 1-800 number that your subscribers can call to if they get stuck and they can't get your initial team. They can also call us, and we can help both you for tier 1 support or your in subscribers if you are not available. So we're definitely your partner for your network. So that's really handy. It's pretty cool to be.
And what about the temperature sensors, Deborah, since it's gotten to be summer?
And of course, the only thing that actually matters here is cool temperature sensors.
Oh, come on. They were fun to write.
They are actually, and actually was really useful, right? So we did have some that got pretty toasty with some little fans before we upgraded to the always on, just plug it in fan in the outdoor telecom cabinets that we had in some of our relays and gateways. So it was pretty cool. Can you remind me too, Justin, what am I looking at here with the ATH? What are these different
Okay,
sensors?
so that's just the name that the sensor driver provides, and that's Arthros 10K, or however you pronounce the name of the Wi-Fi chipset. And Auth 10K is like the most popular Wi-Fi chipset, at least in OpenWRT supported devices. So that's actually the chipset sensor, but the CPU is in the chipset, so it counts.
Yeah, so yeah, that's been really helpful. Along with that there, and let's see what else we can see. Contact him is going to have information just so that you can contact your subscriber. And then this one's the fun one too. So this is where you can also see, how much your subscriber has been spending, what deposits come in. So if you have a call that says, hey, I don't know how much, it feels like it's been more than lately, or hey, I think I made a payment, did it go through? You can both check on the Block Explorer, but this is also a really easy way to get a sense of the subscriber, and also kind of to get a sense of how your network is performing, and how closely you're getting to your sustainability from these numbers as well. So it gives you a lot of detail into the financial picture of each of your subscribers. This neighbor screen is neat too. So this actually has for managing your network. There's a lot of really important information here. Because our networks are set up as in like a mesh configuration, the knowing who your upstream provider is means you know which routes your network is taking, and will give you insight into if someone is down along that path. So you might come in and say, wow, why does someone have 80 millisecond latency, and then come in here and see, wow, the router's upstream is now rerouting through their higher latency. It must be there's a problem or there's a break in the mesh, on the other side of it. So this can be really insightful. And kind of gives you also some of the other kind of latency numbers that you're used to seeing, so you can get an idea for troubleshooting and also just general health of the network. I know one of the things we do between me and my team here on the ground is we do a once a week health check, right? So we just go through everybody real quick, see how their antennas are doing, and make sure everybody's healthy. And we proactively go out and re-aim antennas as needed. And I know that's really appreciated by our community members. And then I'm going to let Justin talk a little bit about our antenna shaper, which is a little bit like, you might liken it to something called pre-seam if you're in the WISP world, that does some things around shaping that. But I'll let Justin talk about what that is and why that's super cool.
Okay, yeah. So this is my favorite feature because it's actually very rare. As a general note, if you're in the software industry and you start feeling really smart, it means you're doing something wrong most of the time. But this is one of the few cases where I get to feel really smart and I'm actually doing something useful. So the antenna shaper is sort of the core of how Althea thinks about bandwidth differently. Since we aren't selling a speed, our goal is to let users use the maximum amount of the connection possible. So that means that we need to be careful and sort of shepherd the connection's properties, especially for these wireless antennas, and especially if you get leaves in the way. So like, let's say you have a point-to-point wireless antenna, and you get some leaves in the way, and they scatter the signal in the air. And then when it hits the other end, it's not quite right. Its parts are different, and it sort of degrades the antenna's performance. And this is actually why. This is actually why most wireless ISPs typically sell speed tiers that are significantly less. So like Ubiquiti advertises their antennas as 400 megabits. You can reasonably get 200 out of them in real world conditions. Most wireless ISPs would prefer to sell data plans in the 50, maybe 100 max, whereas we typically push to our users roughly in the 70 to 100 range. And the way we can do that is that the antenna shaper carefully monitors all the connections. So we have Babel, we have a dynamic routing program, and it can monitor the latency of all the links, the packet loss of all the links, and say, hey, this link's looking a little hot. Why don't we back it off a little? And it keeps things under control. And this is how you prevent like if you have a big downloader on a traditional wireless ISP owned network, the wireless ISP has to kick them off. They just can't sustain it. It puts too much load on the antennas. And when you overload the antennas and there's a leaf in the way or something's not quite perfect, they drop out for 10 seconds, and that's not acceptable. That's not something that a normal wireless ISP can deal with. Althea, you don't have to worry about that. Because the antenna shaper will note that the connection has been overloaded, dial it back, and seamlessly keep things up, online, and under control. And for a while there, I was like, is this thing really as effective as I think it was? And we were actually, this was early in the summer, and there were leaves growing into a lot of the a lot of antennas needed touching up. Well, not a lot, but several antennas needed touching up. Feels like a lot when it all happens at once. But several antennas needed touching up. And Deborah was like, hey, Justin, your shaper, it's on ridiculously low values. Can you go and turn it off? And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll turn it off. And I turned it off. And Yeah, everything went down. All the antennas started rebooting. They couldn't handle the load without the shaper to keep them online. Um, and this is especially not acceptable in our mesh architecture. Most wireless ISPs build large towers, and they have one antenna between them and the customer. We have links that are 8 antennas. We have users that are, 5, 6. Wait, what's the deepest now, Deborah? It seems every time I ask, it gets deeper.
Well, if you go from end to end, it's 8, but it's 4 on either side, and then they meet.
Okay, so 4 or
So 4
5
or
right
5.
about
But
now.
I think the Napa network is getting pretty meshy, so they're gonna probably give me a run for my money. They've got even more trees than we do here, so they've got some. I think they're gonna be 6 or 7 hops deep.
Yeah, and the incredible thing is that if you keep these antennas not under load, so if the shaper is working well, each of these hops adds only about 5 to 10 milliseconds of latency. So you're not looking at a very bad user experience. If you have really short, perfect hops, you can even get it down to about 1.5, 2 milliseconds of latency, which is what we're targeting for a lot of these links in Napa so that we can push deeper. Um, and that's really acceptable. You're talking about the point where you can go 10 hops deep and be about the same latency that I get here with my fiber to the home connection. Um,
All right.
so
So whoever does the first 10 hop, less than like 60 milliseconds for the 10 hop, I will send y'all a t-shirt. Okay? So
okay, the gauntlet has been thrown down.
Someone will figure that out somehow. It's like trying to break the sound barrier.
It's so
10 hop.
yeah,
1
so it's
0.
really not that hard. As long as the aiming is solid, the shaper will take care of the
That's
rest,
it.
and that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
And the antenna shaper, which is a feature that I love to rant about because it is what lets us do multi-hop links. It is very important because without it, you couldn't go 8 hops deep and still expect things to work. You would end up with, one antenna on the link would overload. It'd go down and you'd be like, well, what's going on here? It's too many for a human to manage. You need an automated shaper or you just can't run networks like this. And this is why if you talk to your average wireless ISP, they're going to, your average wireless ISP operator, they'll tell you that chaining together a lot of antennas like this won't work out very well because it will not work unless you have something like Althea's antenna shaper, something like Althea's routing management software. You really run into issues. So yeah, that's why it's my favorite feature because it makes everything work.
Yeah, I mean, and it's part of that whole picture, right? So, if you're going to go run a fixed wireless network, you have to do it in a certain configuration. You're most likely going to want to use something like MPLS. You've got to learn all of that. You've got to have these traffic shapers. You got to go get a customer resource manager like, UCRM. You got to go get billing like VISP. You got to go, you have to go and get Sonar or Power Code so that you could have your management software. Then you got to have a network management. You might even have UNMS to manage all of that. And then, maybe you want to have a call center to have like some customer service support. Then you got to manage that. I mean, so you're talking about, and each of these services can often be $1 to $5 per subscriber. So then all of this is just an easy plug and play with Althea. It's all kind of encompassed in one. Thing. So that's what we're really proud of that. And then of course this is the antenna dash. This one actually isn't connected to antenna, but this makes everything very easy. So you can just log right in here remotely to your antennas and manage that. And you can have multiple antennas open. And you can also have your installation team have read permissions too to be able to go in here and help you manage your network. You have an alert system. This is our test. This is our test bed here, so you're not going to, see something really exciting, probably lots of downs, but the alert system also sends text messages to the operator's phone. I think B popped in here and was asking about, well, what temperatures should they worry about? Yeah, we're getting to the graphs very, very soon. All right, but just real quick too, the alerts are set to the operator's phone, so you're going to get a text message if there's anything down in your network. And then you can also, right here from your settings, set everything from, I think we can look at this really quick here, right? So you can set your pricing right here and change it as needed. Manage your shapers, get your notifications and all of that too. So you have some different kind of options around your notifications too. And my understanding, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if it gets too hot, it's going to send a notification, correct?
Yes, that is the info level of alert, and I should add that to the list of things that are counted in the info. If you scroll down, you have different levels of alerts, and it tells you like, so this is how you decide what do I want to be texted for, and it can be up to very minor things all the way to very major things. So temperature warnings are down in the info level. And I have customized temperature warnings set up for all the common models of routers based on when I wrote the feature, I took a quick survey of everybody's temperatures and took anything a couple standard deviations above the mean.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Very cool. So that's a good feature. All right, to the graphs. I have just kind of a snapshot pulled up from a picture we have here. But this is a really great and exciting thing too. So this really gives you that overall picture, the financial picture of your network. How many users relays that you have. You can see in this network, this was 50% relays, very meshy. Right, so that's just a user that's forwarding bandwidth to the neighbor in some fashion. You get an idea of what your average or your median cost is going to be, how much people are depositing, and this as an operator, you're really looking at your sustainability features, right? Your sustainability for your network. Is it growing? Are you making money? All of these kinds of things So this kind of zoomed out picture is really amazing. I know I really appreciate it for the networks here in Oregon. And it's exciting to have that kind of detail. I don't know, Justin, if you wanted to highlight any of the cool features here, or.
Yeah. Well, so for the most part, I actually laid the foundations for all of this, to sort of process all this data and threw together whatever graphs I could grab quickly. And I've gotten a lot of really great feedback from our operators about graphs they want. So I need to do a second pass and update this. And I also need to write a script that generates some junk testing data, or larger quantities of junk testing data, because the reason we're not showing you the live version of this and not showing you a live network is obviously because it's filled with people's information or filled with the network information. So we kind of have to be careful with that. So I need something that'll give you a nice little live demo where you can go to a website and play around with the graphs without necessarily having to be someone's real data.
Or you all can also get a mini mesh kit. Yes, you can also just start a network, happy to ship out some of those cool mini mesh kits at buy.althea.net and get started. get started, and then you can have your very own graphs to play around with, and you can watch your own money grow, which is what we all love, right? So, any questions or anything before we kind of, wrap up? I know we're getting close to the hour here.
So there aren't any new questions from the chat right now. So I guess that's the last chance for tonight. And is there anything else we need to go over?
I did want to share with everyone that we had that we have some new blogs out again, so check those out at blog.althea.net. We also have I did recently a really great chat with Christopher Mitchell from ILSR, and then I know Justin and Jahan did a great conversation with who is it at Interchain or Cosmos Community?
That was the Peggy showdown, or so anyways, it was it was called a showdown, but everybody was really too friendly for it to be called a showdown. Um, and it was you know, Peggy Peggy, Chainbridge, and IBC, and sort of the technical leads for all three of those, talking through um, their different design approaches and and sort of how their design works. And you can find that on our Twitter. Um, and then as for the chat Deborah says she had, that's a podcast that she did with the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, and you should Google it. And you should also consider listening to their podcast, Community Broadband Bits, which is actually very regular and has a lot of really great content. And especially if you're looking to work with local governments, with your networks, and understand how community broadband works. I don't think there's a better public resource. I've been through a lot of them. But if you really want to understand how governments approach how local governments approach the broadband problem, there isn't a better way to spend your time than the Community Broadband Bits podcast. And if you're also looking for some interesting history of internet and community efforts around internet and a lot of the legal impacts of all of that, they do a really great job. And Deborah was Deborah gave a great interview with them, and I hope you all get the chance to listen to it. And I'll go ahead and try and drop the link into the video chat.
I second and third that about ILSR. They're the great organization, lots of great resources there. And then I do also talk about price-aware routing protocol for goat herders. So there's that. All right. Yeah. So you want to?
You dropped it. Sorry, that was it for goat herders. I feel
you
you.
Gotta check it out.
You teach high school long enough, you become a cat herder.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, for all of those that maybe want to start a network or looking to get started, Althea.net is your best place to get started. You can go ahead and indicate that you're interested in being a network operator. There's a getting started guide, or always feel free to drop a line at Deborah.althea.net. Or Deborah@althea.net, or in our Discord chat as well. Lots of links, and we're always there and happy to answer any questions. So that maybe soon you'll have your own graphs with ever increasing hockey stick of die graphs there. Exactly. Yeah, Derek's got the idea. You got it. And I look forward to next month and more great things. We've got a lot of things working over in Africa right now. I'm really excited to share with you next month. We have a network operator in Uganda right now. Ghana's Revabit just got their gear ordered. We are working on our launch in Lagos in Nigeria. And there's a couple other operators in Nigeria itself too, and some really exciting projects in Africa that I'm excited to share with you hopefully next month. So we'll see you then.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.